Hello everybody, this is Yugi. I'm here to bring you a basic bossing guide for Hero post-Destiny. I know a lot of people have been asking me about this. They've been asking me, a lot of different questions about Hero, especially with all the new Hero mains coming out because of post-Destiny. A lot of people terror burning heroes. I figured I might as well just make a basic bossing guide so that everyone can understand what my opinions are and what I think are the best setups for Hero post-Destiny in terms of V matrix, link skills, hyper skill allocation, that kind of thing, all the bossing setup. Yeah. We'll be covering quite a few things today, so this will probably be quite a long video, as is usually the case with all my videos, but I mean, I can't help it, huh? Sometimes a lot of content has to be covered, the video has to be slightly longer. Anyways, Destiny has been great. Destiny has been really good for Hero. Maybe not so much compared to Paladin, Dark Knight, our warrior counterparts, but it's still been really good for Hero. A lot of positive changes and a lot of good quality of life. Anyways, enough rambling, let us get straight into the guide. First of all, Hero Post Destiny, we'll talk about the pros and we'll talk about the cons. So the pros of Hero Post Destiny are that we are very strong solo bosser. This didn't change pre-Destiny, post-Destiny. We are still a very strong solo bosser. In fact, solo bossing wise, Hero is probably DPS wise is probably still the strongest amongst the three Explorer warriors. Survivability wise, I think Dark Knight edges us because they have a quarter reincarnation now. But in terms of actual damage, I think Hero still tops the list. In terms of just straight up damage. So very strong solo bosser. Now during Destiny, you no longer need to manage your combo ops. For all the Hero players out there that used to play Hero pre-Destiny, you'll know that a lot of our skills used to cause combo ops. Things like Incising, things like Panic, things like World Reaver or Deathly Combo Fault, or Combo Death Fault, sorry. Used to cause combo ops, and they used to drain your final damage, because when you lose combo ops, you lose final damage. But now, none of our skills consume combo ops. Literally nothing consumes combo ops, so you no longer have to micromanage your combo ops. You don't have to make sure that you have enough for War Reaver, you don't have to make sure you have enough to Panic and Incise. Everything is always 100% uptime now for final damage, which is really good. It's great. Another one of the pros is that we have naturally very high IED. Hero has a skill called Combat Mastery, which gives us 50% base IED by itself. So Hero tends to have very high base IED, as it is already. So it's very suitable for bossing mules, because for bossing mules you don't really have that many sources of IED. Maybe you don't have like perfect 8k union, maybe you don't have enough link skills. Hero tends to not have as many IED problems as most other classes do. We also have a much improved debuff uptime compared to before, when Incising used to last only about slightly less than 30 seconds and Panic used to last slightly more than 30 seconds. Now, Panic has been replaced by Scarring Sword, so that has 100% uptime because it is now a self buff, which can be put on pet auto buff, which means that it always, whenever you attack, you always apply Scarring Sword, which gives you the same debuff as Panic does, which basically gives you 25% final damage. And as well as Incising now having a 60-second debuff duration, which means that you only need to recast it once every 60 seconds, which is much longer than before. So you spend a lot less time debuffing the boss nowadays, and you also don't lose combo orbs from debuffing. So this is actually one of the contributing reasons as to why Hero got a lot stronger during Destiny, I feel. Just the quality of life of not having to debuff is huge, and it really does increase your DPS uptime because you're just hitting the boss most of the time, instead of like having to constantly think about recasting your debuffs. Now, of course, Hero still has great survivability. Having a 20-second cooldown iframe is always gonna be good. Not many, I think Hero is probably one of the few classes that actually has that high of uptime on their iframe. It's really good. It's still good post-Destiny, it was good pre-Destiny, and now it doesn't cost combo ops anymore, which makes it great. Hero also has a lot of, has a few sources of super stuns, which is super important in, or not super important, but super useful in certain bosses like Lotus, in Black Mage, to a certain extent in Junko. Because super stuns allows you to not get pushed by certain skills that should push you, even if you do have 100% stuns. So this comes from Valhalla, this comes from Body of Steel, or what we call Steadfast Core and Maple Sea. So yeah, great survivability. We also have very good synergy with the new Urda Nova. The new Urda Nova has a much shorter cooldown. So at level 25, the new Urda Nova has a 120-second cooldown. 120-second cooldown means that it syncs up super well with all of hero skills, because hero skills such as Sword of Burning Soul and Combo Instinct are 2-minute, 4-minute skills. So with Urda Nova at 120-second cooldown, basically it means that for every single burst and off burst, you'll have Urda Nova up, so you can bind the boss for every single burst and off burst. Oh, as well as Valhalla, of course. Valhalla is now a 120-second cooldown. So yeah, we have really good synergy with Urda Nova now. We also have great movement abilities now. I think I showcased this in my previous video, but the new Rush is really good. The new Rush end delay is so short that it feels like you're flying across the map. I've tested it before. It's basically almost equal to Kana's TP speed. So you can TP, with the speed at which a Kana can TP from end to end is about the same speed as which you can rush from end to end of a map. So it's really good. The end delay is super good. It's basically a teleport, except that, well, you don't get the teleport portion, you just get the speed. So yeah, the new Rush is really good. Especially since Heroes Rush is slightly longer than Paladins and Dark Knights. Or not slightly longer, it's actually roughly 1.5 times to 2 times longer than Paladin and Dark Knight. I don't know why it still exists, but it's still like that. Our Rush is still longer. As well as the new Dash Slash as well is another great mobility skill, because that skill is even longer than Rush. That's about 2 times the distance of Rush. So with Dash Slash you can cover a lot of ground in bossing. So yeah, we have some pretty damn good mobility options. We don't really have good vertical mobility, but our horizontal mobility now as a hero is really good. We also have much improved mobbing because of the 100% uptime on an enhanced raging blow. So previously, in order to get enhanced raging blow, you had to use certain modifiers, like you had to use Sword of Burning Soul, you had to use Valhalla. These skills have cooldowns, so you can't have 100% uptime on enhanced raging blow for grinding. You will have to mix in Combo Instinct in the middle there somewhere in order to maintain enhanced mobbing throughout your entire cycle. But now, once you charge up your combo ops to full, like once you have full combo ops, 10 combo ops basically, you will get enhanced raging blow 100% of the time, so it will never turn off. And even without enrage, you will have enhanced raging blow. So you can use enhanced raging blow for mobbing now, because you can hit more than 3 mobs with enhanced raging blow at 100% uptime. It's really good. It's so quality of life. There's also, oh, I forgot to put this in this in the slide, but there's also new incising. New incising is also super good for mobbing. The hitbox is crazy for new incising. You can basically triple plat. Like you can hit 3 platforms basically with a single incising. It's pretty crazy. We also have certain newer skills like Aura Blade, which is pretty good for clearing certain parts of the map that are difficult to reach, and Dash Slash obviously for more mobility while grinding. So these are the pros for hero. A lot of good things. I wouldn't say that we got a huge final damage increase during Destiny, because obviously we didn't. We only got new Valhalla, which basically accounts for about 4 to 5% increased final damage. And over the course of a 4-minute VA, it's like something like 3 to 4%. So overall, the damage isn't that high. The damage increase isn't that high, but I mean, the quality of life makes up for it. Okay, anyways, moving on. The cons for hero. So the cons for hero are that we are still a 4-minute burst class. It's very difficult to sync with your party members for burst, because there are only so many 4-minute burst classes left in the game. For example, there's only Arc, Zero, Demon Slayer. I think that's all off the top of my head. I can't really remember anymore. Oh, there are 2-minute burst classes that kind of sync up with us, like Pathfinder and most Archer classes, because they have critical reinforce actually. But either way, it's quite difficult to sync up with your party members, because predominantly most parties run a 3-minute burst cycle with Stone, so that you can make the full use of Stone every single time it's up, or Domain, whatever you want to call it. So 4-minute burst classes tend to suffer in party bossing. I will know this for a fact, because when I run Seren with my party members, when I run Black Mage with my party members, usually it's difficult for me to burst at the same timing as them when they use Prayer, when they use Stone. So tough. We're still not exactly a great mobber as well for heroes. We are good. We are a lot better than before, and I would say almost with confidence that we are either second best or best Explorer Warrior mobbing now. Definitely better than Dark Knight, but maybe on par or worse than Paladin. Not 100% sure about that one. Because Paladin mobbing is pretty damn good. But yeah, we're not exactly a great mobber. We're okay. We're okay. We're not like Fire Poison, Ice Lightning, Luminous level of mobbing, or Kana level of mobbing, that's for sure. Okay, the next con is that we are also heavily reliant on V Matrix Descents, so DCO, DSE, DSI, because these are all extremely important for hero because they give us a lot of final damage. And by extension of this, we are also very reliant on V Matrix slots, because if you need that many V Matrix cores, in the end you will need more slots, which is kind of tough, because that means you have to be a higher level in order to make full use of your character, or to feel the full power of your character. If not, you'll kind of be half-assed because you will be missing a lot of things. We also have a low base crit rate, which means that you have to invest more into Union, into Hyperstat on crit rate, and also it makes, like I said, you need to have decent sharp eyes on your V Matrix core. So that's again another permanent addition that you must have for sure. And it's tough to argue that you don't need it. So newer players might struggle a bit with inner ability, with crit rate, because they don't have inner ability. For example, like 20% crit rate on second line inner ability. They don't have high Union because their Union level is not high enough to add into the crit rate Union blocks, and also like not high enough level to add into crit rate Hyperstat. Okay. And also, lastly, we are also slightly more expensive to fund, or well, generally more expensive to fund than most other classes, because Hero is kind of a popular class, and also strength tax. Like, strength is usually the most expensive stat to buy for equipment. So your equipments tend to be a bit more expensive, but it's the price you pay for paying a strong class. So especially with all the new Explorer Warriors that are so strong now, like Paladin, Dark Knight, all that, strength equipment really did shoot up in price quite a lot. So yeah, good luck paying the strength tax. Okay, anyways, moving past the pros and cons. Now we will talk about table of contents and what exactly we will be going through in this video. So we're going through a few things for your basic bossing. I'll go through my V Matrix recommendations, like Tricores, V skill priority, etc. I'll go through recommended link skills. This is Maple C edition, so I don't have any GMS link skills. We don't have like Beast Tamer, we don't have a Jet. So those link skills are out of the question. We'll go through hyper skill passive allocation. So a lot of people have been asking me what hyper skill passives they should add. I'll show you what I add, and I think it's the best usually. I'll go through a basic bossing setup, like what buffs and potions you would usually use while bossing, and I'll go through the skill usage during bossing. So for example, what kind of skills, what order you want to use your skills in, and like how you want to pre-buff for bosses, etc, etc. And finally, we'll probably do a live bossing example for a boss like Lotus. I'll try and tone down my gear a bit for Lotus so that I don't kill it so fast, so I can show you like exactly how you would utilize your skills in a boss like Lotus. Because I assume that a lot of people are gonna be making like End-Lomian mules for their Terror Burning, so you probably want to see a bit of how you want to boss at Lotus level, because Lotus is one of the big milestones you want to hit as a bossing mule, or even as a main. So yeah, we'll go through a live example for Lotus. Okay, let's move on to the first important thing, V Matrix recommendations. So V Matrix recommendations, these are my recommendations for your Tricores. There's two separate sections, as you can probably tell. There's one for older heroes and one for newer heroes. So for older heroes, you will see that you have this Tricore over here. This is the original Tricore, the OG Tricore from pre-Destiny that every hero used. We use Raging Blow, Rage Uprising, and Final Attack. So if you already have this Tricore, there's no reason to remake it. It's still good. It's just that you have to add in a new Tricore. You have to add in Valhalla, Incising, and Aura Katara, or Aura Blade. I don't know why it's called Aura Katara. I don't know. It's like a Maple C translation thing. But anyways, it's called Aura Katara. So this is the new Tricore that you have to add in for heroes. Which means that you have to use another 2 V Matrix slots, which is kind of tough. Especially when you don't have that many V Matrix slots. So yeah, for older heroes, you'll have this old Tricore, and then you have to add in a new one. Now, moving past older heroes, because older heroes, most likely you're higher level, you probably have the slots to add in this new Tricore. For newer heroes, I highly recommend that you don't follow the old Tricore setup. Highly recommend. This is in my opinion. This is not like this is not something that you should take as like definitely true, but it's my recommendation, is that you don't use the old Tricore. You come up with a new Tricore. You make a new Tricore, and the new Tricore should be Raging Blow, Valhalla, and Final Attack. So sorry, I don't have an image for this one because I don't actually have the tricore myself, but basically you want Raging Blow, Valhalla, and Final Attack as your main tricore, your new main tricore. The reason for this is because, in my opinion, I think that Rage Uprising is less important than Valhalla is. Valhalla is a pretty strong off-burst skill and actually does contribute quite a lot to your damage. Meanwhile, Rage Uprising, you use it when it's like, when you're using your Soul Illusion combo, and other than that, you use it sometimes when the boss is out of reach. For example, if it's flying up in the air or it's flying away from you, like in Lucid or Damien, you use Rage Uprising, sure. But I feel like Valhalla just provides more consistent damage and it's a much bigger part of your burst and off burst, so it deserves to be boosted over Rage Uprising. So this is the new main tricore that I recommend for newer heroes. And then you can also have a secondary tricore, which is Incising, Aura Katara, Rage Uprising. This is the this is like a secondary tricore mostly for grinding, and I don't think it's that useful until you are probably post Cernium. Because pre-Cernium, Incising and Aura Katara most likely will be able to one-shot, and Rage Uprising will most likely be able to one-shot even without being boosted anyways. If your Raging Blow can one-shot, I'm pretty sure that these three skills, Incising, Aura Katara, Rage Uprising, should be able to one-shot, or at least be very, very close to one-shotting. So I doubt that you need to boost them pre-Cernium. Post-Cernium, when you're level 260 and above, then yes, you probably need to boost Incising, you probably need to boost Aura Katara, you probably need to boost Rage Uprising for them to one-shot at Cernium and above, because you are under Authentic Force. And that's when they become useful for grinding. That's when they become super useful for grinding. So I would recommend maxing these skills. And also at 260 plus, you probably have more V matrix slots, so you can actually afford to add in the second tricore. So in my opinion, because of a lack of V matrix slots, you really want to maximize how many V matrix slots you're using for your tricores. Definitely try and get the new tricore for hero, which is Raging Blow, Valhalla, Final Attack. For older heroes, bopian, suck thumb. They're gonna have to use the old tricore and then afterwards add in the new one as well, in order to make full use of Valhalla as your main DPS, as one of your main off-burst and on-burst skills. So yeah, those are the tricore recommendations from me for post-Destiny. Moving on. This is how I recommend that you level up your tricores or level up your V-Matrix in general. So I would say that you want to get your main tricore to level 40 first. So the Raging Blow, Valhalla, and Final Attack one. That one, get it up to level 40 ASAP. And then afterwards, this is the order in which I would recommend maxing your V Matrix skills. Your hero V skills. You will max Soul of Burning Soul, you will max Combo Instinct, Soul Illusion, then Combo Default. Combo Default is the least damage, obviously. And Combo Instinct and Soul of Burning Soul are high priority because these two are your main skills that you use during bossing. I wouldn't say that you need to max them straight away. Just try and throw as many cores as you can into them. You don't have to get into level 25. You don't have to focus on maxing only one. You can try and level them up evenly as well, it's up to you. But this is the order in which they should be maxed, and the priority should be put for them. You'll also want to put decent speed infusion, decent combat orders, and decent sharp eyes into your V matrix in that order. So depending on how fast you level up or how slowly you level up, that's the order in which I will put in those skills, because they generally give you like decreasing amounts of final damage as you go along. So DSI will give you the biggest final damage increase because it gives you more attack speed, which is very important for hero, especially in a zero attack speed meta in Maplestory. DCO, because DCO actually gives you a butt ton of final damage from enhancing your combo synergy. And decent sharp eyes, obviously, because crit rate issues and also because it gives crit damage. So yeah, that's order for decent skills that I'll put into your V matrix. Then followed by that, I would recommend getting Aura Weapon up and putting it in your V matrix. Aura Weapon is a really nice skill to max as well because it has a much increased uptime when you max it. Basically, the duration of Aura Weapon increases, and it straight up just gives you final damage and RAD when you max it. So, you know, try and max it. It's like 80% uptime or something on the final damage buff, which is really strong. It's really, really strong. Oda Nova is, of course, after that you want to put in Oda Nova. Oda Nova, like I said, has great synergy with hero now. I think it's really important to max Oda Nova, but I hesitate to tell people to max Oda Nova because it's more of a min-max thing. Once you max it at 100, it's 120 seconds, and then it syncs up perfectly with Valhalla, and it syncs up perfectly with Combo Instinct and Soul of Burning Soul. So I want to put it as a higher priority to max, but I can't bring myself to do it because I think the rest of the skills are more important. So Earthen Nova is definitely something you want to keep in the back of your mind. It's something that you want to max in the future, for sure. You want to get to level 25. You don't have to put it in an enhanced slot, by the way. You don't have to put it in a level 30 slot. Earthen Nova is perfectly fine at level 25 because 120 second cooldown is all you need. You don't need 110 second cooldown. So 120 second cooldown is all you need for Earthen Nova. So I wouldn't put it in an enhanced slot. I would just leave it as a level 25. And finally, we also have Maple Goddess Blessing. This is another burst skill. You use it during your burst. That's about it. It's nothing that special. The rest of after that, if you choose to level up more or if you are a higher level, I would say it's personal preference. You can put in things like Spider Core, Blink, Rope Connect, Solar Crest. These are like personal preference. You will notice that I don't put in Rope Connect into the recommended tri-cores at the start because Rope Connect to me is less priority now that we have Up Jump. Up Jump is super useful for hero, so yeah. We are a lot less reliant on Rope Connect now than we were before. So you can afford to remove it first, especially if you're lower level, and put in other more important skills before you consider putting in Rope Connect. I will say that I think Blink is probably my favorite out of the bunch for the personal preference for like the less important V skills, because Blink is very good utility. It's very useful in a lot of bosses. So yeah, that is my recommendations for the V Matrix. Okay, moving on. This is what your V Matrix will look like at 220. If you follow the recommendations that I put out, you have all your main 4 hero skills at the top. You have your boost nodes here, and you will have DSI, DCO, and DSE. So as you can tell, you have problems. You kind of have V Matrix problems because there's still a few skills that are very useful that you really should have. So I recommend that you get to 230, level 230. At 230, I would say that you are pretty much you'll be very highly efficient already, because you'll have everything that you pretty much need for bossing at that point. You have Aura Weapon and you have Earthen Nova, and that will be pretty much all you need. That's a lot of utility already as it is for bossing. So that's what I feel is best for hero, is to get to 230 and then you have enough slots for basically all the bossing skills that you need, all the bossing utility that you need. So yeah, that's my V Matrix recommendation. I hope they help. Now we will move on to recommended link skills for bossing. So I'll get back into the game and I'll show you guys what I recommend for bossing link skills. Okay, we're back in the game, and now I will show you what I use for link skills. So bossing link skills. Specifically, I'm only going to show bossing. Obviously, this video is going to be about bossing and not really about grinding link skills. So this is what I use for bossing. I use Demon Slayer, a Fury Unleashed. I use Phantom for 15% crit rate, Kana 10% damage, Lumi 15% IED, Demon Avenger 10% damage, Kinesis 4% crit damage, Cadena 6% damage to monsters below your level and 6% damage to monsters affected by status, Spirit of Freedom, which is resistance link for iframe after you revive, after you're dead. You have Ecstasy from Arc. This gives you again damage percent. Terms and Conditions AB, which gives you 45% damage for your burst. We have Magician's Erudition. This is the Explorer Mage link skill. And also we have Thief's Cunning. This is Explorer Thief link skill. So those are my link skill recommendations for hero. Obviously this is a Maple C only thing. We don't have a lot of other things that GMS has, like Beast Tamer and Jet and all that. So yeah, can't include those. But if you are interested to know about those, I suggest that you check out a hero guide from GMS. I think there's a few out there, pretty sure. Anyways, okay, we'll move past the link skills. This is what I recommend for link skills. I won't waste much time here. We'll also look at things like hyperstat, and we'll also look at things like hyper skills. So for hyperstat, you can't follow this hyperstat because this is like level 280, so you have a lot more hyperstat than I have a lot more hyperstat to allocate into a lot of different things. But my recommendation is to first max out crit rate. So not max out, but get enough crit rate to the point where you can hit 100% crit rate. So I'm at 90% crit rate now with 2 points into crit rate. So if I use decent Sharp Eyes, I will end up at 100% crit rate. So first of course, you want to max out your crit rate. Make sure that you are at 100% crit rate all the time. Alright. And then afterwards, I recommend, especially at the lower levels, is to get crit damage, IED damage, and boss damage all to level 10 for bossing. First priority would be to get IED to level 10, then boss damage to level 10, and then crit damage, and then finally damage percent to level 10. So that's the order that you will go in to get these skills to level 10 for bossing. After that, I would say if you want to get past level 10, because the reason why I recommend level 10 is because past level 10, it becomes increasingly more expensive to level up the skill. So at level 11, it costs way more to level up the skill, to level up the hyperstat than it did from 9 to 10. So if after you have enough hyperstat points, I would say invest more into IED first. You want to for most people, you want to see, for most heroes, you want to see like 95% visual IED on your IED on your stat page. That's my recommendation. Either 94 or 95% visual IED on your stat page before you stop adding IED. Alright. So if you can't reach that number, obviously add IED. Start adding more hyperstat into IED, because the bigger the IED block, the better it is. So this is super cost effective to add into IED. And then if you've hit a certain breakpoint with IED, let's say you hit like level 11 or level 12, you probably want to hit up boss damage and then probably crit damage after that. So like I said, same thing. It goes in that order. Okay, that's my recommendation for hyperstat. Now we have passive skills. Passive skills, I'm pretty sure this is universal across the board. Everybody uses the same passive skills for hero. So we have advanced combo reinforce, 2% final damage per combo counter. This one's standard, this one everyone gets. Second, we have advanced combo boss killer, which is 2% boss damage per combo. Again, standard, everyone gets this. Thirdly, we have advanced final attack bonus chance. This increases the activation chance by 15%. This is my recommended final attack allocation for this hyper passive. There are people that use 20 attack. 20 attack is nice, I think, for mules, if you're grinding only. If you're grinding, 20 attack is better actually, because activation chance doesn't really matter when you're grinding. It doesn't actually amount to much extra damage. It's not consistent basically for grinding. 20 attack is consistent. So I would say that if you're grinding, maybe if you're only choosing to grind, then yeah, add 20 attack. But if you're at all choosing to boss, like if at all you want to boss with your hero, I would say activation chance is much better. Okay, followed by the 2 Raging Blow ones. So Raging Blow reinforced, 20% damage, and Raging Blow bonus attack, plus 1 number of attacks. Standard. These two are standard, no argument about this. The only argument there really is about whether or not you want to add which final attack hyper passive you want to add, but I've given you my reasoning, so you can make your own decisions. Okay, that's all for hyperstat and for link skills. Okay, now we're gonna move on to how you want to set up yourself for how you want to set yourself up for bossing. Things like buffs, potions, etc., etc. The important things that you need to know, as well as how you want to use your skills during bossing. Like what's the order that you want to use your skills, and how you want to set yourself up to actually DPS. So first I'll go over what are the buffs that I usually use for bossing. So these are like quite standard things. Obviously you want to use Guild Creator Guidance, that's one. Your green pot, extremely important. Never go bossing without green pot with hero. Well, I mean, not never, but if you're like doing like serious bossing, for example, if you're doing a struggle Lotus or you're doing like hard bossing, you don't want to go without green pot. If you're doing like CRA and you can like one shot the boss already, green pot is like, you don't need it. But if you're doing like serious bossing, green pot, extremely recommended. Obviously you want extreme red as well if you're doing serious bossing. This just straight up gives you attack. And also advanced strength potion. This one is more min-max. This one is like end game bossing. You maybe want to min-max for this, you don't really need it. But guidance, green pot and red pot I would say are standard for higher level bossing. Now, I recommend using a sparkling blue potion, either that or a remedy of penetration while you're bossing. These buffs are nice because they give you extra IED. People tend to look more towards boss killer because they think, oh, 20% boss is better. 20% boss is better, but only if your IED is up to scratch. So most people don't have like 95. To be honest, even if you're at 95% flat IED on your stat page, using sparkling blue is usually better. especially when you're at endgame, when you have a lot more boss percent and you tend to overlook IED. Sparkling Blue is technically better if you're below 95%, or if you're 95% and below. So my recommendation is Sparkling Blue potion. If you're an alchemist, if you're an alchemist, you can use 2. You can use both of these if you want. If you choose to take smithing, you can only use 1. I recommend alchemy, to be honest, because alchemy is like a really nice it's a really nice profession to keep, because you can use 2 different potions. So yeah, that's my recommendation for buffs. Obviously you have other things like Ursus that you can use as well if you're seriously bossing, and as well as Union Strength. But those are slightly more expensive options, or maybe things that you don't really want to waste. So I would just go with the standard if you're bossing Guild Guidance, Green Pot, Red Pot, and 1 potion, 1 alchemy potion, and that will be good enough for your bossing, I think. Generally you don't need much more than that for your bossing. If you really need to use more than this, like if you need to use like Advanced Strength, you need to use like MVP Superpower, Blossom Bath, all that kind of stuff, you know, to down the boss, I would say you probably aren't strong enough for the boss. So you don't want to go through that kind of effort to defeat bosses every week. I mean, sure, if you want to do the first clear and you want to test yourself, then of course go ahead, use these buffs. But if you're doing this on a weekly basis, you want to keep it to a minimum. You want to keep your buffing to a minimum so that you don't end up using so much money every week on buffs. But yeah, that is the basic potion setup. So right now I will just pop a bunch of these because I'm going to be bossing after this anyways. I'm going to do the Lotus showcase. But anyways, yeah. So this is like what I would use standard as a standard for bossing. So I'll now go through the skill usage during bossing. So a few things that you need to pre-prep before you go into bosses. Obviously you want to turn on your combo ops. I can't tell you how many times I forgot to do this, but please turn on your combo ops. Make sure it's on. Of course, make sure you cast Maple Warrior as well if you don't have it on auto buff. And also, you want to charge up your combo ops. So you can do this in a number of ways. You can hit the boss, hit anything actually, any mob, in order to charge up your combo ops, and they charge up pretty slowly. Well, not pretty slowly, they charge up at a decent rate. So once you hit 10, you will maintain at 10 forever already, you don't need to care about them. But you can also do the second method, which is to use any one of these 2 skills, either Valhalla or Soul of Burning Soul. If you use Valhalla or Soul of Burning Soul, you immediately get 10 combo ops. So as long as you turn on your combo ops before bossing and you buff up for bossing in a normal way, like you buff up by casting your skills, you will actually already hit 10 combo ops. So you don't need to worry so much about that. Okay, now I will go through how to pre-buff before your burst. So one of the bigger things in bossing for most people, actually, not just heroes, but most people, is that you need to know how to buff up for your burst and know what skills and what order you want to use your skills in. So for me, the way I like to think about it is that I like to buff certain skills first because these skills have a longer cooldown, so they take longer to sync up. So for example, things like Epic Adventure and Valhalla, these 2 skills, this is a hyper skill, Epic Adventure is a hyper skill, Valhalla is a hyper skill. So both these skills are not affected by cooldown reduction. They're not affected by Mercedes cooldown reduction on the Union board, for 1. And 2, they're not affected by cooldown hats. So if you have a cooldown hat, they're not affected by it. So these skills tend to take longer to cooldown than your other skills. So for example, Combo Instinct. Combo Instinct says that it has a 240-second cooldown, but this is affected by 5% Mercedes Union, as well as Soul of Burning Soul. This is 120-second cooldown, again affected by Mercedes Union board. So what this means is that these skills are reduced by 5% respectively. So instead of 120-second cooldown, this is 114-second cooldown, and instead of 240-second cooldown, this is a 228-second cooldown. So what this means is that if you cast your skills in the wrong order, for example, I've seen a lot of, in my opinion, I've seen a lot of heroes cast Soul of Burning Soul first, and then afterwards they cast Valhalla, and then they cast Epic Adventure. I think this is a bad idea. The reason being is that if you cast Soul of Burning Soul first, and then afterwards you cast your hyper skills, you end up having a time gap in between your Soul of Burning Soul and your hyper skills. And that time gap will only get bigger and bigger because the cooldown of Soul of Burning Soul will get faster and faster. Like every time you cast it, it'll be 6 seconds faster than Epic Adventure and Valhalla. So what happens is that it gets very, very out of sync. Eventually you have like something like 30 seconds in between your Valhalla and Epic and your Valhalla and your Soul of Burning Soul, as well as your Instinct. So to me, that's like that's not a very good way to buff up. In my opinion, the way you should do it is that you should be casting Epic Adventure and then Valhalla first. Sure, you lose a couple of seconds of Valhalla, you lose a couple of seconds of Epic Adventure, but at least the cooldowns will start to sync up more. They'll sync up a lot better, basically. Also, I've done some testing myself. If you're worried about Valhalla, because Valhalla, now what it does is that it has like extra sword hits every time you attack an enemy. If you're afraid that you don't have enough time to get out all your sword hits, that's not true. I have tested it. It only takes about 14 seconds for you to get every single attack of Valhalla out before it runs out, basically. So like, what this means is that you only need about 14 seconds before you've already used up all the sword charges for Valhalla. So you don't need the full duration of Valhalla. You don't need it at all to do your full damage. So what this means is that you can afford to pre-buff it, and you can afford to wait a bit before you buff Sword of Burning Soul before you start your burst. So yeah, that's just a preface of why I'm doing certain things in a certain order, why I'm buffing Epic Adventure and Valhalla first. So okay, I've talked enough about this. Let me actually get the buffing. So what I usually do is I will cast Steadfast Core, Aura Weapon, Maple Goddess, Epic Adventure, Valhalla, and then Sword of Burning Soul. Then what you want to do is you want to Incising to debuff the boss, and then oh wait, I don't have pets on. Sorry, I don't have my pets on. So you want to cast Incising to debuff the boss. You want to cast AB Link, and then you want to cast Combo Instinct, Seed Ring, Sword Illusion, World Reaper, Rage Uprising, in that order. And then you just hit the boss like this. It's very simple. Basically, you just cast all your buffs. You cast one combo, which is Sword Illusion, Combo Instinct, Sword Illusion, World Reaver, and then Rage Uprising. And then after that, you just hit the boss with Raging Blow. Also, the next thing you want to take note of is that you want to cast World Reaver in between your bursts. So while you're bursting, you're using Combo Instinct, you want to cast World Reaver in between that, because that straight up just gives you final damage when you cast it. Because the way World Reaver works now, or Deadly Combo Fort works now, is that when you cast it, let me show you. So I'm oh shit, I didn't turn out Enrage. Okay, remember to turn out Enrage. Before you pause. So the way it works now is that you see my final damage here. The moment I cast World Reaver, instantly I gain like 60-70% final. Well, it's more than that actually. It's almost 100% final damage. It's like 110% final damage. You immediately gain like 110% final damage just from casting the skill. So what this means is that in between your Combo Instinct, your World Reaver will cool down during your Combo Instinct. So my recommendation is to cast it during Combo Instinct to get the extra final damage and then continue hitting your Combo Instinct. It's well worth the cooldown. It's well worth the time to cast it. This is of course a bit more advanced because like sometimes you want to save World Reaver for iframe. But if you're a confident player, if you want to push your limits, you will definitely cast it during your Combo Instinct so that you can get extra final damage from it. Oh, I neglected to mention, but you should also probably cast Solar Crest and Spider Mirror. So let me go through the order again in case that was too quick for some of you. You want to pre-buff your skills. So pre-buffing is the part that confuses most people. So what I mean by pre-buffing is that usually you want to use Steadfast Core, you want to use Aura Weapon, Maple Goddess Warrior Blessing, and then afterwards you cast Epic Adventure, Valhalla, and then Sword of Burning Soul. Then after all these skills are cast, those are all the pre-buffing skills that you need to cast. Oh, not really. Okay, those are most of the pre-buffing skills that you want to cast. Then after that, you want to cast Incising to debuff the boss, like so. And then you will cast Terms and Conditions, which is your AB Link, and then Ring. And then you probably want to throw in your Spider and Saren Seal. And then afterwards, Combo Instinct. And then straight away you go into your 3-part combo. 3-part combo is Sword Illusion, World Reaver, and then Rage Uprising. So it sounds like a lot of things. It really does sound like a lot of things. But this is all just pre-buffing basically. You pre-buff all the skills in a certain order. And then afterwards you activate your AB Link, activate your Ring, and then you do 3-part combo, and then you just hit with Combo Instinct on. It's as simple as that. I mean, it doesn't really sound simple when you say it, but basically it's like the first part is confusing. The after part, like the actual hitting part, is very simple. So okay, that's your burst. That's how you want to buff up for burst. Now, if we're talking about actually fighting the boss, most of the time you're just hitting the boss, right? You're just hitting the boss, after everything ends, you're just hitting the boss basically. When it comes to your off burst, basically your off burst is when your Epic Adventure, Valhalla, and Sword of Burning Soul come off cooldown. because these are 2-minute skills. So in the time that your combo instinct is cooling down, they'll come off cooldown once, right? That's when you take the time to recast Epic Adventure, Valhalla, and then Sword of Burning Soul. Obviously, you want to keep the boss debuffed with Incising, and then after that, obviously, you want to use AB Link, and then the 3-part combo again, and then continue hitting the boss. Again, this is the off burst basically. So pretty simple. Not much to it. There are 2 arguments for what you should be doing with World Reaver during the in between your off burst and your burst. So some people think that you should be using World Reaver off cooldown for iframe for damage straight away, so just use it straight away for damage. And some people think that you should wait for the cooldown of Sword Illusion first before you use World Reaver. I am 50-50 on this. I think that either one is fine, but I would prefer to not use I would prefer not to use World Reaver that often. I would prefer not to use the iframe that often because I want to save it as an iframe. I'm not that good at bossing to the point where I can freely use the iframe as a damage skill. So for most newer heroes and even for more experienced heroes, if you want to keep the iframe as an iframe, keep the iframe as an iframe, and then only reserve only use it together with Sword Illusion. Only use it together with the 3-part combo for DPS when you have Sword Illusion up. Other than that, keep it for iframe. So yeah, that's the other more advanced thing that you have to think about when you're bossing with hero. So yeah, that's pretty much it for how I would set up burst and off burst as a hero. I hope it wasn't too confusing. I don't know if I made it very clear, but feel free to rewatch again if you want to see exactly in what order I use my buffs and how I would set up. Now we'll move on to the next portion, which is the live Lotus bossing example. So I'll see you guys in a bit once I've taken off some gear and tried to balance up my damage a bit so I don't kill the boss too quickly. BRB. Okay, we're back. I've taken off some gear. Okay, so this is obviously not going to be super accurate because obviously I have a lot more boss damage, a lot more IED, and a lot more hyper stat than your average, and also perfect inability than your average hero will have. But I tried my best. I tried my best. We're at 9k stat now. Bunch of boss damage out there. I mean, I'm trying my best here. So this is just to ensure that I don't kill the boss too quickly, so I can showcase at least a little bit of how heroes should be bossing in End Lotus. V Matrix wise, I've also taken off most of the other stuff, most of the super useful things that are not super useful, most of the extra things that I think you won't be able to equip anyways. I tried to keep all the decents and the tricores on, and obviously the main bossing skills that I recommend, I will take off Maple Goddess actually, because usually you won't have Maple Goddess. So if you take a look at it, this is probably what a 230 hero will have. If you follow the new main tricore, if you're like a new hero and you follow the new main tricore rather than having 4 tricores, you only need 2 slots in general, but I have 4 because, you know, I don't have the new main tricore, so my Valhalla needs to be boosted. And obviously I still have decent advanced bless, but you know, that's a small thing now. Okay, so basically this is what a 230 hero setup should be for bossing. So yeah, I will try my best to not use a very strong seed ring. I will just use totaling ring, I guess. What? Why can I not swap rings? Oh right, because I have enough slots. Okay. I've taken off almost all my gear, by the way. Either way, yeah, I'll try to not use such a strong seed ring. I'll just use the totaling 4 because yeah, not that I doubt that most people will have like RR4, Jump 4 on their bossing mules. And this is just End Lotus, so hopefully I don't need it. This is my first attempt, by the way, so if this goes badly, you know, you probably won't see this. Haha, JK, I'll probably still put it in, but I'll try my best. Okay, so End Lotus. Phase 1 is pretty dangerous for hero, but there are a few ways to deal with it. I'll show you how to deal with it. And also, before you go in, you probably want to pre-buff. So you'll pre-buff your stuff. You'll cast Maple Warrior, obviously. Make sure that your Enrage is on. Make sure you have combo ops. You'll cast Weapon Aura, you'll cast Epic Adventure, Valhalla, and then afterwards you'll cast Sword of Burning Soul. And we will go in for normal. Oh yeah, I need to create a party. Lol. Okay, normal practice. Obviously, we're still running the same standard bossing buffs that I talked about. So what you want to do is you want to debuff the boss. You cast your AB Link, your Totem Ring. You want to Combo Instinct, Soul Illusion, Bow Reaver, walk through the laser, and then continue to hit. So the damage is a little bit higher. You can use up jump here to get onto these platforms. Oh fuck. Ah! Okay, I was reverse keep. We got off to a great start. Off to a great start. Okay, pretend that didn't happen. But basically, you want to burst down P1 ASAP because P1 is generally where the most dangerous things can happen, especially when the lasers start to speed up. So yeah, best case is that you can burst down P1 in one burst. If you can't, then you're probably gonna have to play a little bit more. But I will assume that you can burst down P1 in general. So in Lotus, your best friend is Rush, because as you can see, if you look at the boss, you can see him starting up his push animation, and using Rush is very fast and very easy. You can just rush past his push attack. So when it comes to platforms, if you're close to the boss, you can just up jump while you're on the platform to avoid his push attack. Yeah. And obviously you want to use Soul Illusion, Bow Reaver, and Rage Uprising off cooldown as a combo. But again, for this boss, basically, you mostly want to just be rushing past his stuff, and of course watching out for debris falling from the sky. Yeah. Make sure the boss is always debuffed, and always use Rush to your advantage. Rush is such a good skill now that you definitely want to be using it as much as possible to dodge his attacks. So again, platforms. Oh, so up jump to dodge his push. You can hit him twice, and then up jump again, then hit him twice. Now you can set up your off burst. As you can tell, Epic Adventure, Valhalla, as well as Soul Burning Soul are up. So you set up your off burst, you cast AB Link, and then Soul Illusion, Bow Reaver, Rage Uprising. So the nice thing about Valhalla is that you can pretty much just tank his push, because it has super knockback resist for 30 seconds while it's up. So you can afford to just stand still and hit him. You don't really have to rush or anything like that. He won't interrupt your attack animations. So yeah, that's P2 of Lotus. Now Weapon Aura is up, so use Weapon Aura, debuff the boss, and just hit him. Use Rush as needed to get past his push attack. And now platforms, you just want to be calm, you know. If you're really in a tight spot, you don't have to up jump. You can iframe. So always remember that you can iframe while the platforms are up. You don't have to stick to strictly just up jumping his attacks, especially when there's debris falling down from the sky. You want to be watching above you before you up jump. So again, standard, just keep using your rush to get past him. Platforms again, he's doing a lot of platforms. It's kind of annoying. So here there's debris above me, so what I'll do is I'll iframe, just in case, and then I'll up jump. And then if he's going to cast anything, I'll up jump again, like that. Pretty standard. Make sure the boss is always debuffed. It's really nice that you only need to cast Incising once in a while now. Get pushed there because I'm stupid. Here you go. Oh, okay, I missed my Soul Illusion. Soul Illusion, Bow Reaver, Rage Uprising. It's off cooldown. And now your burst is almost up. So again, you want to sync up your burst, so I won't cast Combo Instinct straight away when it's off cooldown. I'll wait until Valhalla and Soul Burning Soul are up first before I use them. Platforms again. Up jump to avoid the push. Here you can just jump across. If there's multiple platforms, you can just jump out of his attack range. You don't have to up jump if it's a little bit more dangerous. Up jump to avoid his push. And now we can buff up for burst. So Big Adventure, Valhalla, Soul Burning Soul, AB Link, Seed Ring, debuff, Combo Instinct, Soul Illusion, Bow Reaver, Rage Uprising, and then you just hit him. Of course, I was gonna say you should bind him probably. So I have bind ready, I'll bind him. I forgot that I can bind. For some reason I forgot that I can bind. My bad. But you should probably be binding while you're using Instinct. And again, cast Bow Reaver while you're using Instinct so that you can get extra final damage, and the boss is dead. Okay, that was very, very, very fast. Most likely your first clear won't be this fast. I might need to drop more gear in order to get a more accurate view of what most people will be dealing with in their first clear for End Lotus. But generally, that's how you want to fight the boss. As you can tell, hero is pretty standard. Use rush to dodge attacks. Use World Reaver and Sword Illusion and Rage Uprising as your 3-part combo whenever it's off cooldown. Make sure that you pay attention to your cooldowns for your Sword of Burning Soul and your Valhalla for off burst, as well as Combo Instinct for burst. And that's about it. Try and bind when you're using Instinct. I assume that you won't have a level 25 bind, so you can't really bind for off burst, but try and bind when you're on burst. And try and use World Reaver during your Combo Instinct so that you can get more damage off. But yeah, that's about it from the live showcase. And actually that's about it for the video actually. I hope that you guys learned something new about Hero today. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I will see you all.